My name is Ethan Miller and I am 29 years old, living a quiet life in Maplewood, Oregon. I work a steady job during the day, but my real passion, the thing that truly makes me feel like I am contributing, is my volunteer work at the local community pantry. It is a small nonprofit, a place where the air always smells faintly of canned goods and good intentions, and the board is mostly just a handful of dedicated, tired people with clipboards who mean well but are stretched thin. I have always been a person who likes order, a man who finds satisfaction in making a system work, in seeing things run smoothly. I started volunteering there last spring, drawn by the idea of helping out in my community, but also because I noticed a bit of chaos. Their old spreadsheet system for donations was a nightmare, and things, valuable things, kept going missing by accident. It just felt like a puzzle I had to solve. So I built a simple system for them. A clear sign-in sheet for all items coming in, numbered bins for storage, photos of high-value donations taken right at drop-off, and a weekly social media post that thanked donors generally without naming specific people or items, to protect privacy and prevent any bad feelings. It was not fancy, just practical, but it truly worked wonders. Donations actually went up, fewer mistakes were made, and the whispers and accusations about people taking the good stuff vanished. There was a sense of calm and trust that had not been there before, and I felt a quiet pride in that. Around the same time I started putting my system in place, a new volunteer named Marcy joined us. She was super friendly, very loud, and always talking about giving back to the community. She had this specific habit, almost a quirk, where she would listen to an idea someone shared, then 2 minutes later she would repeat it back to the group as if it had been her own brilliant thought. At first I just let it slide. I mean, it was volunteer work, right? Who cared who got the credit as long as the work got done and the pantry helped people? But then she started introducing herself to new volunteers as the one who revamped the whole operation. And it was not just words. She would post selfies in the pantry room, grinning into the camera with captions like, "Look what I built for our community," while I was literally in the background, out of focus, carrying heavy boxes of supplies. A knot of irritation would form in my stomach each time, but I am not one for confrontation, especially in a place meant for goodwill. I just gritted my teeth and kept working. The feeling of being erased, of my quiet, diligent efforts being co-opted, began to chip away at my enthusiasm, making the volunteer work feel less like a selfless act and more like an invisible grind. It was not just about credit anymore. It was about my actual contribution being denied, making me feel like a phantom in my own carefully constructed system. The last straw, the moment that truly broke my patience, came when a local business announced they were offering a small grant for nonprofit organizations that could demonstrate measurable impact in the community. Our director, a kind but easily overwhelmed woman named Sarah, immediately asked me to pull the numbers. She knew I had been tracking everything meticulously. I spent 2 solid evenings after my regular day job, hunkered down at my kitchen table, making a clean, easy-to-read report and a one-page summary. It was nothing flashy, just clear, concise data that showed how my system had improved efficiency and increased donations. I emailed it to Sarah, and because Marcy had been asking for updates on the grant application, I made sure to carbon copy her on the email, thinking that perhaps seeing my name on the document would subtly remind her of who did the actual work. I was so wrong. At our next weekly meeting, Marcy walked in with printed copies of my report, passing them around the table with a triumphant smile. She actually said, "I stayed up late on this, but it was absolutely worth it for our pantry." I just sat there, clutching my dumb little notebook, my face a mask of calm, watching as everyone around the table praised her. Sarah, our director, looked a little confused, her brow furrowed, but she did not correct Marcy. I think conflict just made her deeply uncomfortable, and she would rather let things slide than challenge anyone directly. After the meeting, as I was gathering my things, Marcy cornered me in the hallway, her smile still wide. "Hey, Ethan," she said, her voice a little too casual, "can you keep feeding me those numbers? You are so good with details." She treated me like I was her personal assistant, like my sole purpose was to provide her with material to claim as her own. I remember smiling back, a tight, controlled smile that did not reach my eyes, and saying, "Sure, Marcy." Inside, I was seething. I went home that night so mad that I actually alphabetized my entire pantry, just to channel the furious energy bubbling inside me. It felt like I was putting my heart and soul into something, only to have someone else pluck the fruits of my labor and present them as their own, leaving me hollow and invisible. I started to question why I even bothered, feeling utterly devalued and taken for granted. The initial joy of helping had been replaced by a bitter resentment, a quiet anger that simmered beneath the surface of my polite facade. Here is the thing, though, that Marcy conveniently overlooked or simply did not understand. The local business that offered the grant wanted more than just a report. They invited us to a short question and answer session where we had to explain the system in person and answer specific questions about how we prevent waste, ensure food safety, and protect against fraud. Marcy, with her usual enthusiasm, immediately volunteered to present to the funders. Sarah, our director, visibly relieved to have someone step up, said yes without a second thought. Soon after, Marcy emailed me, asking for talking points and the story behind the numbers. She wanted a concise, easy-to-memorize script to parrot during the presentation. I responded promptly, sending her the exact same PDF report she had already stolen credit for, along with a polite note suggesting that she thoroughly read the process document I had created and uploaded to our shared drive. I did not remind her that this process document was essentially a step-by-step guide to the entire pantry operation, written in plain language by me, with little helpful notes like, if someone asks about spoilage, mention our partnership with the local pig farm to donate expired but safe produce. I also very deliberately did not mention that I had updated the document just last week, adding a brand new section titled Common Questions from Funders, which was basically a cheat sheet for all the specific inquiries I anticipated they would make, with detailed answers. I had a feeling this moment was coming, a premonition that Marcy's glib confidence would eventually outstrip her actual knowledge. I knew she would never bother to read through a detailed, technical document, preferring the quick sound bites she expected me to provide. This was my quiet, almost invisible way of setting the stage. I was not sabotaging her, no, I was simply not enabling her deception. I was giving her the tools she asked for, but not spoon-feeding her the answers she wanted to claim as her own. The nonprofit's success was important to me, but so was the integrity of the work, and I decided it was time for the truth, even if it had to emerge through a bit of uncomfortable clarity. The day of the presentation arrived. Marcy showed up looking incredibly professional, dressed in a sharp blazer and wedges, acting as if she was about to deliver a TED Talk to a global audience. Her confidence was palpable, almost radiating off her. She began with a flowery introduction about her vision for the pantry and how she had single-handedly transformed its operations, gesturing dramatically as she spoke. The funder representative, a stern-faced woman with piercing eyes, listened patiently, then asked a very simple, direct question. What exactly do you do when a donor drops off items that are expired or otherwise unsafe for distribution? Marcy, caught off guard, froze for a split second. Her radiant smile faltered. Then she recovered with what she clearly thought was a brilliant, compassionate answer. "Oh, we donate everything," she declared confidently, her voice booming slightly. "We do not turn anyone away. Our mission is inclusivity and helping everyone." The funder representative's eyebrow slowly raised, a tiny, almost imperceptible gesture that spoke volumes. She leaned forward slightly. "Even expired baby formula?" she asked, her voice calm but loaded. Marcy started rambling, her words tripping over each other, about being inclusive, about not wasting anything, about community trust, clearly digging herself deeper into a hole she had no idea how to escape from. Her elaborate facade was starting to crack. The funder then moved on, asking another equally vital question. "How do you track high-value items to prevent theft or diversion?" Marcy, now visibly sweating a little, puffed up her chest and proclaimed, "We rely on trust and community. Our volunteers are like family." At that point, I looked over at Sarah, our director, who looked like she was about to pass out from sheer mortification, her face a pale shade of green. I kept my own face completely calm, my expression unreadable, and just waited. The silence that followed Marcy's grand pronouncements was deafening. Finally, the funder representative sighed, a soft, deliberate sound, and said, "Ms. Williams, your numbers look excellent on paper, but your controls for safety and accountability sound non-existent. This is concerning for any organization handling food and donations. Who exactly designed this system?" Marcy, her face now a bright, desperate red, let out a nervous laugh. "Oh, I did," she insisted, her voice a little too high-pitched, still trying to cling to her manufactured glory. And that was the moment. Sarah, bless her exhausted, conflict-averse soul, finally found her voice. She cleared her throat, her gaze fixed firmly on Marcy, and said, "Actually, that was all Ethan Miller. He built it from the ground up, and he runs it day in and day out. Marcy helps primarily with outreach and donor communications." There was dead silence in the room, so thick you could almost taste it. Marcy's face went a very specific shade of crimson, like a kettle at full boil, steam practically hissing from her ears. It was not me who exposed her. It was the sheer force of her own incompetence and the undeniable truth finally breaking through Sarah's reluctance. It was a beautiful, excruciating moment for her. The grant still came through, thank goodness, and that was only because I finally stepped in. After Sarah's intervention, the funder turned to me, her expression still serious but now laced with a flicker of curiosity, and asked me directly to explain the system. I calmly, clearly, and concisely answered all of her follow-up questions, providing specific examples, referencing the written protocols, and even showing her photos I had on my phone from recent high-value donations, complete with date stamps and numbered bins. I had receipts, both literal and metaphorical, for everything. I explained our process for sorting expired items, our partnership with the local animal rescue for certain non-food donations, and our secure storage for electronics and gift cards. The funder representative nodded slowly, her expression relaxing into one of approval. Since that day, Marcy has been weirdly quiet, almost like a deflated balloon. She still volunteers, but her boisterous energy has been replaced by a much more subdued presence. Now, when she introduces herself to new volunteers or outside contacts, she simply says, "I help out sometimes," her voice lacking the previous confident flourish. It was not dramatic revenge. There were no grand confrontations or public shaming orchestrated by me. But watching her try to sell my meticulously built work, failing miserably because she had no real understanding of it, and then seeing the truth come out without me having to utter a single accusatory word, was honestly the most peaceful and deeply satisfying payback I have experienced in years. The grant money meant we could buy a new, larger refrigeration unit and expand our fresh produce offerings, something I had been wanting to do for months. My work at the pantry feels valued now, my contributions seen and acknowledged by Sarah and the rest of the team. I walk into that pantry every week with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that the systems are truly mine, and the quiet satisfaction of seeing my efforts benefit the community is a reward far greater than any stolen praise. And Marcy, well, she still shows up, a constant, living reminder of the quiet power of truth, her diminished presence a silent testament to the fact that you can only ride on someone else's coat-tails for so long before you eventually have to stand on your own. It is a subtle but profound shift, a deep-seated feeling of vindication that allows me to finally just focus on what matters, helping the people of Maplewood.